Hey, Black Hollywood Live fans. Today we're talking about Apple and the FBI. It's CBS's mess up of the Grammy. Can I take that again? All right. What's up, Black Hollywood Live fans? Today we're talking about the FBI and Apple, CBS's screw up at the Grammys, and Kanye West's new album.
You are tuned into Black Hollywood Live's Geek.Nerd.Tech.
Welcome. That's it. Uh-oh. Yeah. Fight the power.
Yo.
This is the year I graduated high school.
High school. Whew.
I'm old.
Man.
1989.
Yeah, I was 9.
Oh, you were 9.
It's one of my first albums, though.
Sound of the Funky. This is one of your first albums?
Yeah, first albums that I actually saved up for.
Oh, wow.
And my dad was like, you could buy this. I was like, yeah, I'm going to buy this.
Oh, well, that's interesting. I want to first say welcome to Geek.Nerd.Tech, the show we break down geek news and tech news and nerd culture from a black and brown geek perspective. I'm Joe Braswell. I'm joined as always by Keely Shine.
Yes, sir.
That's interesting you say that because I had my first 2 albums in when I was 9 years old. So I was 8 years old for my first 2. So your first 2, was it 1 or 2?
First one that I actually saved up for. I mean, Pops was introducing me to hip hop all along, but I actually saved my allowance to buy this album.
And you bought the record.
Absolutely.
Fight the power.
I bought the tape.
So I bought the tape. Fight the Power, the second album by
PE.
By PE. Nation is Willing to Hold Us Back. Yeah, man.
Yeah, this was
amazing.
amazing
By the Bomb
time.
Squad.
Yeah.
Video directed by Spike Lee.
Yeah.
And it's one of our seminal songs of the 90s and the late 80s, right?
Defining a generation, without question.
For me, this is how old I am. The two albums I remember very specifically in 1979 that I really wanted and had to get. One was Off the Wall, Michael Jackson.
Hands down.
And the other one was Rapper's Delight.
Oh, yeah. I mean, both of those is like, man, you got to have them in the house.
I remember Aunt Tracy had those 2 albums, and I remember just holding them like, I want these.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, where your money? Where's your record player?
Man.
Where's your money?
Seriously.
Anyway, record player. We digress and really age ourselves. It's funny talking about record players in the age
tapes
and tapes on a tech show, but you know that was cutting edge technology.
That was the medium of the time.
That was the medium of the time.
Exactly.
Lots to talk about, as we mentioned in the cold open. We'll talk about Apple and little Kanye and music streaming and CBS and the Grammys and a little bit of Star Wars as well. But first, let's start with this Apple story. This Apple story seems to be getting a little bigger. We touched on it. I don't know if we touched on it exactly, but after the San Bernardino shootings, the FBI kind of was asking Apple to help, Tim Cook and Apple to help unlock the shooter's phone so you can see what information they can get out of there. Yeah. And Cook was saying he's not going to do that, and not because he doesn't want to help, just because the implications of having that version of iOS unlocked could be horrible. Yeah. Horrible, like beyond what the government can do. And it brought up an interesting debate about what a tech company and what a proprietary owned software / hardware, what their rights are versus when the federal government says you have to do something. It's an interesting kind of debate there.
Definitely. And
it opens up some other things down the road, like for a more evil company, when the government says, hey, you have to do that, and like, nah, we ain't showing you this. You know. So there's a lot of real implications down there. But the story is really more about our guy John McAfee, who is a security software guru. He said, he's like, yo, I got a team of hackers, like straight out of Scorpion. He's got like a dude with a purple mohawk, 24-inch mohawk, a guy with tattoos on his face. He says a guy with 10-gauge earrings.
Stereotypical hacker, right?
He's like, my crew will work for no less than $500,000. They'll crack anything, but I'll tell you what, they'll crack this phone for you, but you gotta give me some leeway, because whatnot. What do you think? Because he's actually pissed about the fact that he's very on record talking about how antiquated our security methods are, how antiquated, like how our refusal to step into the hacking age, like Russia and China has done, and leaving us vulnerable in a lot of ways. So, what do you think about his stance and his team of hackers?
I mean, I think generally with the issue, I think like it's one side of the coin. It's like we talked about, it's security, and other side, security and privacy are the issues essentially. So how secure are we as a nation, as a community, and then our information, like we want it to be protected, we want it to be private. So I mean, his stance, I feel like, okay, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to hack it? Like, I feel like Tim Cook taking his position and being very public in how he dropped the messaging and the long letter on Facebook, and I think all that was very apropos and transparent, and just communicating kind of like what could happen, what the potential threats could be if Apple or another company allowed the government to have this type of access. And so I think, if there is another party or another organization or a group of guys that could actually do it, of course there are, but to be able to promote it and to sell it, I think is just wrong. Because I think at the end of the day, we got to figure out better ways to have a secure environment, but ultimately we have to have protection over our thoughts and our ideas and our stuff, because some of it is sensitive material that we don't want shared and viewed by anyone, so.
Well, this brings up what I was touching on last week, and like we're in an era now where we have 4 or 5 companies that not only that really have sort of changed the way we do everything. Like they're embedded in our culture in a way that other companies haven't been since GE and since the light bulb, since like the railroad or something. I can't even think of like how a company's come and just infiltrated everything we do, the way Facebook has, the way Apple has, to a certain extent, the way for sure the way Google has, and to a certain extent the way Amazon has. And so you have these companies that really like a Facebook, who's just like completely integrated in your life in every way. They like what are they allowed to tell if the government says, hey, Facebook, I need access to all your files, like how does that work?
I mean, I think how it works now, you got to go through the proper legal channels to be able to do that, to get the subpoenas and the warrants and all that, to be able to have the access. But to have it like carte blanche, like I'm going to have it whenever I want, and I could pull it from whoever I want, I think that's a bit much.
Well, there's 2 separate things, right? So there's that scenario which I talked about, which is access to information, and then there's this scenario which is they're talking about, which is we don't want information, we want access to your technology, Tim Cook. Like, I know you know how to unlock this mug, I know you know the secret how to get in here.
The technology is only the holder of the information, so what's the difference?
Well, I guess the difference is, for you talk about legalities and subpoenas, it's different from this is where the legal curve gets slippery. It's different legally for me to say, hey, Keely, I need to see all of your files and I need access to all your information, versus I need this locksmith to make me a key, and I'm gonna go in there and figure it out myself. Like it's a difference between accessing the information, accessing the technology to be able to get the information. So, and what they're saying is, all we need, Cook, is just how to crack the iPhone. Just give me the code. But that means they can crack every iPhone.
Well, they're not just saying give me the code. They're telling Tim Cook to change his operating system, to change the way his technology is even designed. The software is designed so that the government as a third party can have the access to do it. So it's not just like, hey, give us access. It's like change our whole infrastructure.
Change our whole infrastructure so we can make it easier for us to get in.
Yeah,
because we're trying to save lives out here. But what Tim says, if you can get in, everybody can get in.
Exactly.
Like, and especially, and you guys are not at the forefront of hacking technology. Trust me. So by the time you guys know what you're doing, everyone's already the entire country's exposed.
Yeah. And who knows, man? It might just be smoke and mirrors. They might already have access to it. It might just be all a part of the performance. Like, because I feel like with the whole fingerprint stuff, like I still haven't done it. I don't feel comfortable putting that type of information into my phone, although it's probably already in there, although other things are probably shared and translated and transformed to people. Like, I don't know, man.
Right. I mean, who knows? You want to get into that sort of area, like, you're looking at the phone, there's also face recognition, you're taking pictures, your FaceTime, every time you FaceTime, there's all kinds of things if you want to go down that road of sort of like, they got me. Like,
we already covered the story with the GPS tracker. It already saves exactly where you go.
Yeah, where you've been.
That's a bit much.
Yeah, that's a lot. Hey, man, trying to sell you stuff.
Hey.
So we'll see where this goes, but I'm very interested to see. Like, I like the stance that John McAfee's taking. I like, John McAfee. He's positioning himself as this sort of like, I don't know, cyber hero. It's the stuff that like movies and TV shows are made of. It's like very much like Scorpion or one of these stupid hacker movies that come out. What's the one with Halle Berry when she showed her stuff? Travolta, Don Cheadle, Halle Berry.
I know exactly what you're talking about because I just watched it like 2 weeks ago.
Swordfish.
Yeah, Swordfish.
Okay. Yeah. So it's his own group of swordfish, which is, by the way, not a good movie.
It really isn't.
Don't try to tell me it's a good movie.
No, I mean I didn't like. I'm not promoting it. Like, yeah,
and not a good movie for hackers. Like the idea, like I'm not digressing here, but purposely, I'm on record with this. But the whole idea of the hacker in the movies and the hacker in TV shows is like drives me nuts. Like that whole
cliche.
Like, the whole like one more firewall, almost there, I'm in. Like that's not how it works.
How does it work?
It doesn't work like that. It works more. I mean, well, if you watch Black Hat, the Michael Mann movie, that's pretty closer. That's really pretty close to the way it works. But not Swordfish, where Hugh Jackman is sitting in front of like 7 monitors and then putting on like Metallica and cracking his knuckles and then doing some hack. That shit is ridiculous. And John Travolta's like, hurry up. He's like, I've got all the firewalls. That's like, no, that's not. I'm no hacker, but I know that's not how that shit works.
That's pretty funny.
Anyway, okay, moving on. So the Grammys happened. We talked a lot about the tech of the Grammys and CBS is streaming the Grammys, and I, the sucker that I am as a cord cutter, is a subscriber of the CBS Now service.
You just got hustled.
Is a CBS All Access service. They have my $5.99 a month, and as a part of my bundle that I'm doing as part of my cord cutting bundle. And I tried to flip on the Grammys, very excited, and the shit wasn't on. It kept spinning.
Yeah.
The reticle was just going around and around. It kept loading, and I was freaked out. I got online, and turns out that was happening to everybody.
Yeah.
And it was a major fail for CBS. Now they corrected it just in time for me to see Kendrick Lamar, and thank God. But I missed everything. I mean, luckily they replayed it locally, so I saw it again. Mm-hmm. But I missed the first hour and 10 minutes of the Grammys.
Right.
And this is a huge fail, not only because it's a fail, but because CBS is made this big stance about charging.
Yeah,
they charge you $5.99 for their service, so they have a premium service like Hulu, not like Netflix, and their shit is not working, which is a travesty. And it's not even like. I don't know if they weren't ready for the demand. I mean, we had about 26 million people try to stream that thing. I
don't know if that number is correct. 26 million to stream it. I think only 26 million people watched it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. That's actually right. You're right.
But that would be way too high for a stream.
Yeah. That's like a super crash. They don't have the streaming numbers. Actually, they don't give the streaming numbers. But whatever it was too much.
Yeah.
Too much for them. So what do you think about this?
I think that like when I look at my history with cable, there have been times where I'm watching a show on cable and something goes wrong with the cable. So I mean, it's just technology. It's a glitch. It's something that happened. I think it's infrastructure. Once we have we have faster internet speeds, like that's not going to be an issue. But I think for now, like it kind of defeats the purpose of them trying to be in this space to compete with the Hulus and the Netflix of the world, because it's like, yo, you don't have the infrastructure to compete. Like, and this is a tentpole event, a water cooler event, and you fail to have the proper technology to have the show played seamlessly. Right. I think that's gonna really have people turn their heads away from it. Like that $6 is pretty steep, for some legacy shows and sprinkled events. Like I don't know if I would pay that for them. Like maybe my money would go somewhere else, but I would be pissed off, to be honest.
I was pissed off. I was pissed off. Pissed off. I was very pissed because because to have that, it took me a while to figure it out because it just didn't compute to me. And then when I realized all the other CBS stuff worked, so I like instantly I go to The Good Wife. Oh, that I can watch that.
Right.
And I'm like, I just can't watch the Grammys because it's live. What the heck, so it was really, really upsetting to me. Although the Super Bowl seemed to work and other stuff worked just fine. It's a huge mistake, huge mess up for me. And I I'm interested to see if they give me my $5.99 back.
So I would be on the phone with them immediately to get 4 months for free or something.
Yeah, I'm like, I would be surprised if CBS doesn't do some sort of gesture because it was such a public thing that happened in real time.
Oh, it's damaging.
Yeah,
it's damaging. I mean, some of the tweets were just ridiculous. Like a long list of just, I can't believe this is happening. This is whack. I'm paying my money. Like blah blah blah.
I posted myself. I posted to Hollywood Reporter. I posted somewhere else. Like, this is an outrage.
Yeah.
Anyway. I don't really post like that, but I did. So moving forward, speaking of which, so ESPN, who's also been hurt by this whole cord cutting situation, obviously, because ESPN just takes like whatever it is, $7 of your money or $9 of your money for themselves. Now they're trying to say that we're all for being a part of some sort of skinny bundle, if you will. They're not going to do a standalone service, which they probably could. If anyone could do a standalone service, it's ESPN.
Yeah.
Because people want their sports and people want access to their sports. I think it's what ESPN's worried about is, do people want access to their sports programming?
Right.
So this is a whole interesting tail wagging the dog situation, but let me tell the story first. So they're saying that they want to be part of, if this is the way it's going, they'll bundle up with other folks and be served up through Amazon or Apple, whatever, but they definitely don't do the standalone service. And this is from John Skipper talking.
Right.
ESPN is notoriously sort of behind the curve on technology, as my former boss Bill Simmons has been very adamant about. Grantland had no digital platform, no mobile platform. They refused to update stuff, and I don't know. What do you think of this?
I mean, I think they're not going to use that card until it's absolutely necessary. I think that they still can be part of the general cable bundle and still make gobs of money. They have 90 million subscribers. So they've lost maybe 7 million in the last 2 years. Like, they still have 90 million. And they're the biggest. The cash cow for Disney, so I think they're gonna ride that wave until really there's a shift in terms of how we consume our media. I think they, because they're such a behemoth, they don't have to necessarily develop the standalone strategy. And in terms of these slim down bundles or whatever, I think they're already kind of doing that with the with the Sling TV and that model, but I think they'll probably adapt that before they do it, before a standalone. But I think them bundling ESPN with other Disney Family and all those other type of shows and networks that are part of Disney, I think is their power play. So.
Right, I agree. Now, just philosophically, getting this whole tail wagging the dog thing on this is that it's very interesting that ESPN was built on. They started on sports programming, on recaps and highlights, right? And then around that, they were able to build a foundation of those types of shows to be able to allow them to go out and get rights to sporting events. Right. They started with whatever, women's lacrosse, and then they built their way all up to the behemoth they are now with college basketball and NFL and others, and basketball. So now, and then they built a whole cottage industry of programming around that live television, around those live events. So now people really only kind of want the live events.
Of course.
I love my PTI as much as the next guy and my Around the Horn and all that stuff. But in my sports center,
those aren't the landmark event.
I don't know that I'm going to pay $5.99 for PTI in sports in the sports center. I may pay $5.99 for access to the NFL and for the access to the MLB and other stuff. So it's interesting that what if you do come to a pay service, if they do come to that, what are you paying for? I guess, and then this is what is the value ESPN has, and it begins when you start to look at it in those terms. ESPN starts to look like a house of cards for a little bit, right? Because it's
true.
Because one thing if you just flip it on and they're just taking your $9 and they're just making that much of money, but if it really breaks down, okay, what are you actually doing from ESPN? Right. Then it starts to get scary.
That's true. I mean,
because
half the time you're watching ESPN, if it's not a game, it's just on. You're not really invested, locked in. It's just on in the background. At least for me.
Yeah, no, that's the point. But if you said, oh, okay, here's the deal. Like I'm at this point, you have to pay for ESPN. What am I paying for?
Yeah, I don't know if I would pay for it.
In the world of Yahoo Sports and everything else, and all the access I have to CBS Sports and Fox and everything else, what am I paying for?
Exactly.
So that's a question ESPN has to ask itself immediately.
And if
they don't have the answer.
If ESPN were to do a standalone, I think they would lose because NFL could do a standalone, NBA could do a standalone. But I mean, like, why would you choose, ESPN over NBA, or whatever?
At this point, it's programming, right? It's the pregame stuff. It's whatever pregame you're watching or programming or fan stuff you're watching. And I don't know, I just really feel like increasingly in this day and age, I find myself watching less and less of ESPN. The only appointment television I have on ESPN, and I get on a podcast even, is really PTI. Mm-hmm. PTI is the only show that I probably consistently don't miss. Right. Other than that, I'm out.
It's like whatever. It's on.
Yeah, and then 30 for 30, but that's that's okay. Anyway, we digress. So BuzzFeed, BuzzFeed's one's up and comers too. I mean, don't sleep on BuzzFeed as an information hub. BuzzFeed reminds me a lot of, and this is weird, a lot of CNN back in the early days of CNN, and I think they're taking themselves seriously in terms of not really a news organization, but an information organization. But because of this, they're changing the way they do their metrics, and they're changing the way that they are able to monitor how many people come through BuzzFeed and what happens. Before, it was relied on the standard internet stuff of impressions and uniques and all the other stuff. They're coming up with a very elaborate, spending some money doing an elaborate sort of super metrics, data metrics thing to be able to help advertisers and others show people like exactly how much BuzzFeed is how many people are actually on BuzzFeed, involved in BuzzFeed, how much it impacts the culture. And I think that's huge.
I mean, I think it is huge. I think the system by which we kind of determine analytics is antiquated, and so that's kind of their point. Like, hey, we have expansion in all these areas, from YouTube to Facebook, through our own site, through Vine, but we want to be able to have a deeper penetration and deeper analysis to be able to show people that we have more than what this antiquated system is providing in terms of numbers. We believe that we're far more expanded than what the numbers provide. So let's create a new system that can be more specific in terms of how many numbers and how much traffic we're actually generating, for the very point of selling to advertisers. But like, this is a better system that's more specific, that's more direct, and gives the advertiser even more power to how they can promote their products. And so I think it's super smart.
Right, makes sense. It makes sense to me. So we'll see. Like, I think BuzzFeed, I think what you're gonna find is, and why they're doing this, is that BuzzFeed is like, the power of BuzzFeed is massive, and I think that the people are going to be surprised how many eyeballs are on BuzzFeed, on a regular basis, how much interaction comes through BuzzFeed on a regular basis. I think this is just the beginning of a growing trend of these websites to really get their metrics together to go out and get that money, because people still to this day don't quite understand like the power of online versus the scattershot of television. The power of engagement. They understand it in sort of buzzy, like Silicon Valley terms, but not in the fact of actual dollars. Like, this is how much engagement is coming through BuzzFeed. Like, so you need to put your money here. Anyway, this Twitter story, I could kind of skip it unless you let's skip the Twitter. So I want to talk about Spotify. So Spotify, the question is, does Spotify, we talked about Spotify being a loser in the whole, so when the Apple Music versus Tidal versus Spotify whole thing dropped, and we all sort of put our money on our different horses. When Apple Music and Tidal lost, we had the open question, what's going to happen to Spotify?
Oh yeah, my take on that, it's not short term, it's long term. Right. I still say Apple Music, in terms of the marathon, is going to win. Yes. In terms of the sprint, in terms of these first initial laps, these first few years of them actually battling, Spotify obviously is still ahead because they started first. So, but I think the long battle, nah.
How do you think about Spotify's sort of what seemingly inability to sort of innovate and stay on top of things? I feel like that when Spotify dropped, I moved to Spotify. I was an early Spotify adopter, and I loved it. I wrote for Spotify for like almost 4 years until Apple Music, and then I just dropped Spotify like a hot potato. But my eyebrows raised on Tidal because of all these releases, right? The technology has been spotty on Tidal. They need to get their technology game together. But But the idea of the Beyonce,
Yeah.
and then the Rihanna, and then now the Kanye, and then, and then the Drake, no, not the Drake, Drake's Apple Music, but then the Coldplay, of course, and Jay's lurking around the corner, so it made me get. I have Tidal now, it made me get it. So I wonder, so what's Spotify doing? So the open question is, does Spotify need to do some exclusives to be able to get some? To be able to help them grow, and if they do, what is this? Are we gonna have a world of this camp over here, that camp over there?
We already do have that world, and it's going to be, those lines are going to be more clearly drawn as larger artists want a bigger stake for their product. They're not going to just give it away for free, and that's kind of the argument from the artist perspective. Like, yo, change your model so that me as an artist can make more money. Like with your freemium service and how you're positioning your platform, I am the loser out of the deal. Like, you make more money than me as a platform, but I'm giving you the product. From Spotify's angle, it's like, hey, music should be it's exposed to everyone. The more the merrier. The more people that can listen to it and have access to it, the more you'll make. That's what they're selling. Right. But from the artist perspective, I'm like, yo, I created this. I'm trying to do what's best for me and my family. Right. And so that's why the Beyoncés, the Rihannas, and the Kanyes, and the Coldplays, and the Adeles, and the Drakes are doing it that way. Like, yo, I'm gonna drop it right here, get my pay, get my money up, and then maybe I'll siphon it off to the other streaming services down the line. But from the artist perspective, I totally agree. From Spotify, I think because they're not doing exclusives, I think they will lose in the long run.
I mean, they did drop a Hot Prince exclusive.
Okay. That was 2 years ago.
Is it the day that we're laughing
or a year ago?
Prince? Oh, man, July 2015. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know where this is going. I honestly don't.
I mean, think about it. Taylor Swift pulled out of Spotify. Adele said, "I'm not dealing with Spotify." Like, all these big artists are saying, "No, I'm good. I'm straight."
Yeah. I mean, people are still, fuck what Apple Music, and then I guess it's really the battle between the stars is Apple and Tidal, and I guess Jay is pretty convincing. Like, talking to these people individually. I mean, even the press release, the press conference release had everybody up there.
Don't sleep on Drake, man. Like, I mean, he made a deal with Apple for $20 million. Mm-hmm. Like, that's amazing. Like, that dude is caking up. Like, he's caking up very quietly.
Super caking up.
Very quietly.
Super. Like, do not sleep on Drake in terms of making money. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I mean, the album is, forthcoming. And the mixtape got nominated for a Grammy. I don't know how that happens. But the mixtape.
I mean, his first mixtape got nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah. But the album's coming, and I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like this something big is going to happen with Drake. And it makes me feel like this is the topic we're not on, but it makes me think about the art of the rollout in this age. Like, how do you launch a project? I'm gonna call it an album these days. I mean, obviously Beyonce a couple years ago dropped 15 tracks and 15 videos, and that's what it was, and had complete control over it. This whole rollout of do we have one? Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. The whole rollout of Formation and the way that's been sort of rolled out. Mm-hmm. I don't know that Life of Pablo was expertly rolled out. I think it was very sloppily rolled out, but it's it's effective. Like, it makes you wonder about the impact of how the control the artists have and how they want their product to be perceived and launched out to the public, and how much ancillary money that they can make from that. It's about keeping that power, right?
Absolutely.
And that's why I wonder what Drake's going to do and what Jay's going to do.
I mean, content is king. We always say that. I mean, the music has to be good. And for like the star power artists, like, I don't know if the surprise attack is going to work anymore. I think that's kind of antiquated, even though it's only been done like maybe 5 or 6 times. But it's like, okay, you dropped your album out of nowhere. Like, that's not really a surprise anymore.
Yeah, because you have two versions of that. Kanye's, which was loud and not necessarily a success yet because it's only on Tidal, and Rihanna's, which was super quiet, which is like super quiet.
Right. I mean, when
it's a good album,
when
but
Beyonce
no one's talking
did
about it.
Exactly. When Beyonce did it, I mean, 2 years ago, like, that was like crazy, like out of nowhere you dropped out. But for her to do it again like that, I don't know if that strategy would work. But I do like how she is, I like how Beyonce in particular, or even Kanye, they're promoting their album, they're marketing their album around other ancillary things that they're doing, other events, or like, for instance, Beyonce's tour, or it's Kanye's, fashion line. Like, I think I think artists are adapting in those ways, because now it's not just about buying albums, it's about buying everything that the artist represents, and so being a part of their brand. And I think the album is just a selling tool for consumers to buy other things.
Yeah,
so,
obviously the tour, the products, and everything else, because no one's making money on the actual music. How do you monetize the actual music? So I agree. And if you're a good artist, you have other things to sell about yourself.
Exactly.
You know, whether it's clothes or
merch,
merch or whatever it is. I'm very curious about. I think Rihanna's rollout was a bit of a fail, if you ask me. I think it was kind of a fail. I mean, like the way
it wasn't as loud. I mean, I don't even say loud. It was loud. I would say maybe like it
got leaked by accident on Tidal, and then there's no fanfare. There's no. I mean, it's just here. I see a couple billboards.
Well, she has a tour. She has a world tour she's going on. So I mean,
okay, we'll see. I mean, I like the album. Kanye's. You know, I don't know what the grade is on that release yet. I think there's some cool things that were done. The Madison Square Garden thing was cool. The tweeting, the change in the title, the frantic nature of this, the saying that now it's going to be exclusive only on Tidal, and changing his mind and changing it back. Like, it just feels, it's a lot of coverage, but it just feels very manic. The record is pretty good. Yeah, I like it a lot.
It's been hacked a whole lot too.
Well, we'll get to that in a second, but that's really interesting. Anyway, well, this is interesting to see. I don't know I don't think Spotify's going to make it, frankly.
Yeah, the marathon, man.
The marathon. I don't think they're going to make it. I think they're going to end up being bought by, like, either Tidal's going to buy them, or they're going to merge with Tidal and take on Apple, or something like that.
I feel like you have to have the cool factor. Does Spotify still have the cool factor? I don't think they do.
No, I think that's the play. I think Tidal will merge with Spotify to take on Apple Music, and then we'll see how that goes.
And like last note, I know we've been on this topic before, but like you have kind of like the poster child for Apple Music. You have the poster children for Tidal. Who's the poster child for Spotify?
I told you, man, Prince. Prince, he's riding for Spotify right now.
All right.
I don't know. Yeah, that's the point. That's kind of the point of the article. Do they need that? Do they need a poster child? It's about the music.
Okay.
You know, they're about getting the music to the people, but they can't get the music to the people if the musicians don't want to give their music to you to give to the people. So that's a problem. Okay. Just a couple quick Google stories. Google's trying to infiltrate the Asian culture and the Asian market. They're trying to do it from the inside out. They've dropped a giant engineering facility. They're looking at hiring a bunch of local engineers to be able to get some homegrown talent and figure out how to get in from the inside out. Do you think this is a good strategy?
Yeah, I think it's a good strategy. I mean, been to Asia a few times. Like, there's so many people over there. Of course, it's a good strategy. They want access to those bodies and have them buy their products and have them be on their search engine and have them use their platform. So of course,
and it's just a smart. We talked about kind of Facebook, the kind of like the digital colonialism of Facebook or whatever. These to the arrogance of being like, I'm gonna come in here and show you how, give you our stuff or show you how it's done, or we're going to come in here and have your thing. It's more like, hey, can we teach us how to do this in your country? Or whatever. I like the idea of like in other words, instead of coming from the outside in and taking over, I like the idea of coming in and investing in the local people and saying like, let's build this from the inside out.
I mean, I think, when you talk about like Indonesia, Malaysia, and Philippines, all these southeastern Asian countries, like, of course in their cities they have the infrastructure and they have access, but in the rural areas was kind of, I think, what Google is trying to hit home, like in terms of those areas where there's still a shitload of people. They want to be able to bring that technology and that infrastructure there. So,
well, Facebook's gonna fly drones over there.
And
so that's how they're gonna bring the technology to people. I don't know.
What's interesting to me is that a lot of these Asian countries actually develop a lot of the technology. It's surprising to me that they don't already have that stuff, like expansive throughout the country. Like,
but it's also it's interesting because it's also like about the sharing and what is it kept? Is it provincial? Is it national? Is it but it's not going to be. Like an international, Asia doesn't do it like that. Asia doesn't bring their shit to us, right? Like that. They keep it for themselves, and then make our shit. That's kind of how they grow, Also Google is trying to fix the Gmail. If I understand the story correctly, they're basically wanting you to use all your other email addresses through Google Mail, but still allowing you to not have a Gmail suffix. Is that correct?
Yeah, essentially, if you're a part of the I think the 4 or 5 bigger email hosting companies that are out, like the Yahoos of the world, you can use Google as a way to Gmailify your previous email account. And I think that's just the domination that Google and Alphabet has, that, hey, we created this technology where you might want to just use a Gmail because it's more popular amongst your circle or better to use for business purposes. And so we have the portal, we have the stream to be able to transform it from a Yahoo account to a Gmail account.
Right. Now, is it like we will actually transform this, or is it that when I email Yahoo, you'll see it as Gmail?
That's exactly it.
Okay. I thought that technology already existed.
Yeah,
did it?
It's not new technology.
Okay. I feel like that's already something that you can email forwarding or whatever that is.
I don't know if it's email forwarding, but it's because you're also able to use the Google apps, and so I think that's the play.
Okay.
Because you want to be able to, Google's trying to get people to come over to their whole portfolio,
right?
So that's the thing.
And you can't really do that with a Mac account or a Yahoo account or your Hotmail account
exactly
that you use all the time.
Yeah, right. I'm never giving up that one. Your
Hotmail and your AOL account. I also got my Prodigy account. So, okay, let's. I want to get into. So we talked a little bit about Kanye album release, and we touched on it a little bit. Just really quickly, I asked you, but what do you think of the album?
I think the album is superb. Like, I mean, I already last week, and every time we cover Kanye, I think him as an artist, like, he's dope.
Yeah.
Like, I think the music is dope. I think it's good for the culture in terms of, just a solid album. Content, ethically, but, Kanye and just how he's presented is dope. I like it.
Bleached assholes is your thing?
Exactly.
Excuse me, podcast world, but yes. No, I think Kanye is a genius. I first of all, I love the album. The tracks that I was not so sure about, I love them. Upon multiple listens, I love even more of the tracks I loved already. I really, really love. I'm really more into the back half of the album now than I was in the front half, where it was the opposite before.
Yeah.
I love the deep house cut at the end. I love, it's great. I think it's a really, really strong album.
Yeah.
In terms of Kanye as an individual, it's interesting to find out how much of it is Kanye, a guy who is borderline, somewhere on the spectrum, or borderline personality, who may or may not be off meds or needs some sort of meds and is doing that thing, or is he just a genius that way, or is he like a supremely calculated, I know exactly what the perception of everyone is of me, I'm going to make this move on purpose, I'm going to say this thing about Taylor Swift on purpose because I know it's going to get this reaction, I'm going to say this on the record on purpose? Is he like a mad genius that way?
I would hope that it's the latter.
Yeah, I would hope so too, but it's interesting. I mean, this life of Pablo, the erratic Twitter stuff and everything else has been like interesting to watch.
I think there's a degree of impulsiveness with Kanye, but I think there is a lot of strategy and a lot of calculation. I mean, when you really evaluate his whole career from the beginning to now, like it's a lot of like, I mean, just conceptually with his music and with his content, like that requires a deep thinker, a reflector. And so I don't think that he's stupid enough to just do everything impulsively. I think there is a degree of strategy and forethought in terms of what he does. I think he uses the media to work for himself. So
okay. I agree. I like the album itself. I don't like the idea of him keeping it on Tidal exclusively as a business strategy, because people need access to your album. And so what the story's about is that his limited release album is now a massive hit on Pirate Bay. It's a Pirate Bay hit. People are pirating the crap out of it. So if the desire is to have you only come to Tidal, well, savvy people aren't going to do that. They're going to figure out other ways to get it. And you're also excluding the man. There's so many people who want this record who barely can use iTunes. Yeah,
that applies for the Adeles of the world. That applies for the Taylor Swifts of the world. Why is it different for him?
It is. I mean, it isn't. But I think that neither of those people have exclusivity. They may launch on something like Rihanna did. You launch on Tidal and then it's available the next week on Apple Music and everywhere else.
That's not true. Taylor Swift and Adele both had exclusivity. They didn't put it on any streaming platform. You can only buy it. You can only buy it in a brick and mortar, or you could buy it in iTunes.
For 1989, and that's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
I don't see what the difference is.
Well, the difference to me is you buy it in the brick and mortar. He's saying you can't even buy it in a brick and mortar.
Yeah, you can only buy it. You can only download it from Tidal.
Right.
Right.
So that's the difference. The difference is accessibility.
Right.
It's one thing to be able to say, hey, you have to go and pick up this album. That's how I want the finances to be. It's a different other thing entirely for me to say you want it to stream it from here, and then people will find other ways to stream it digitally. And it's easy ways to pirate that album digitally and then put it back out there for I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, it's fine, but I wonder about it as a strategy, and we'll see if it works.
Hey, I think it's dope. Because he has a 3% equity stake in Tidal. So either way, he's winning. He's winning with all the other artists that are on there that are being streamed. 3% of each artist, each play, and he's making his moolah, through his other ventures. So I mean, I don't know if I disagree with that. I think eventually he'll expand it out. But I think for this first month or first 2 months, man, let people come to the source. Come to me for the product.
Speaking of making his moolah, like this is that famously that he had that tweet about sort of asking for money or whatever it is, but like that brings up a thing like, how is Kanye making money right now? I'm not saying that Kanye is broke, because clearly he's not, and his wife is obviously making close to like $100 million, but like Kanye is spending a lot of money. I know Def Jam underwrites good music to a certain degree, but like that album, I mean, I know Rihanna's album costs, not this Kanye, it costs a crazy amount of money to make that album over the last 2 or 3 years. Kanye's record cost a lot of money also to make over the last couple of years. The tour, he's not really touring. He's spending a lot of money of his own money on all this fashion stuff, his own money on the video game stuff, his own money on all this promotion of the redoing the record, changing the record, multiple songs. There's like probably, I guess there's like something like 14, 15 songs that like will never see the light of day.
That's normal.
That's normal, but like more that. But I'm talking about the money spent in recording these songs and the time spent recording these songs. It's just there's all the stuff that all we see is Kanye spending a crazy amount of money as an artist to be able to put his art out there, which I respect. But like, is Kanye gonna go broke?
I mean, I know we had. The short answer is no.
Okay.
I don't think he'll go broke, because I think he's created a legacy just along with his music, just him as an artist and him as a writer for other artists. Like he's still producing for other artists and still has hits. Like he has the most hits. Like who has more hits than him? Like for himself, and then like I said, for other people that he wrote for, like
publishing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But people aren't buying records, so maybe you have a point.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I want to get to, let's see. Well, so Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds is hosting Saturday Night Live, and they want people or petition to have him host as Deadpool, which I think is interesting. I saw Deadpool. I liked it a lot. Not necessarily all my kind of humor. The Ryan Reynolds humor is not really my personal cup of tea, but people really love it, and I liked it a lot. I get it, but like I have some friends of mine who are like, I'm gonna buy it, I'm gonna play it on repeat, I'm gonna dress as Deadpool at my wedding, I'm gonna like. I have people who are really freaking out for it. But did you see it yet?
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay, it's good, and I think it's very faithful to the comic, and I'm glad that he's able to do. Hopefully, he's able to do a sequel and blah 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 blah. But I don't want to see him on SNL.
But that might be interesting. Like I like the thought of doing something, have him on the show for 90 minutes dressed up in his character, acting like his character. That's never been done before.
Right.
And so I I think the article was saying like Spider-Man wouldn't be able to hold a audience attention that long, but with the way his character is designed, like he potentially could.
He could. But a lot of what he does is F-bombs and stuff. So we'll see if that'll fly on SNL. I don't know. We'll see. It could work. Last but not least, I'm very interested in this. There is a release, a super silver screen edition of Star Wars coming out by an anonymous group called Team -1, and they're doing like the sort of like the 35 millimeter. Well, they've taken it from a Spanish language low fade 35 millimeter print, and they're putting this out as the original version of Star Wars, which is kind of cool because Lucas has completely sanitized out Star Wars, and he's digitally redone some things. He's famously made Guido shoot first in the Han Solo thing. He's taken out that crazy Wolfman creature that was in all of the original Cantina scene. Is that Wolfman dude who looks terrible, by the way. The only one that doesn't. That's why I took him out. Right. Only one that doesn't hurt up. And they kept like 3 close-ups of the Wolfman, like. Like in the cantina, like drinking a beer. Right. Like, that's not good. Nah. So they took the Wolfman out. But, I kind of want to see. I was thinking about this as I was watching the Star Wars leading up to episode 7. Is that I miss the original. It makes me upset that like that's been completely erased from my memory of how the original was. I want to see it again. I can't do it. So I'm glad that someone's doing it. I wonder what will happen. What do you think of this?
Hey man, you have the fanboys and the geeks out there that are purists and that want to see it in its original formation. So yeah, I think for those guys that are really like truly geeking out about Star Wars and I want to keep it pure for how it originally was manifested, then that's cool. But hey, it evolves, man. Art evolves, and Star Wars might be around for 100 years.
And I agree. And last thing I'll say, I was definitely one of those people who was upset about George Lucas is changing everything. But now that I have, children in the world, and it's like thinking about the legacy of what that is, like watching the original version. Some of it doesn't hold up. It doesn't hold up. So the fact that he modernized it and made it a little, I don't know if he's to keep doing that, but it holds up a little better for another generation and maybe change the longevity of what that thing is.
Absolutely.
Especially we're talking about using that as a piece that connects these next group of movies that are coming out. Like you want to make sure that it doesn't look like it's from the 70s, which it already does.
Right.
So anyway, that's just a thought.
Hey man.
All right. That's it. Next week we will 100% talk Oscars. Next week, 100%, and then on some other things going on. Anything else you want to hit on? All-Star Game, anything?
Nah, man. Hope everyone out there has a positive weekend.
Yep.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Achilles Shine.
And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Joe K. Braswell. We will see you all next week for more geek and nerd stories and tech stories as well. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon. Peace.
From executives Kevin Undergaro, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio. Instagram me at KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in.
Hollywood Redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.